what I'll do is, as a precaution, I downloaded those files to myself. I know it was with a lot of difficulty. There was some problem with probably the cloud. So I have them in my computer, and I will put them on um, on the PM training cloud, which is OneDrive, right? So I'll share that link with you after this class, right?
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, I think we are clear about this point of adaptability. So portfolio life cycle, one aspect of that is adaptability, right? What else?
Mhm.
Structure of portfolios. You see, if there are more than one portfolios existing at the top level or at the hierarchy, um, the question is whether they can be centralized or decentralized. Now let me define that. Centralized portfolio concept is that there is a top level portfolio, which is a single portfolio, the core portfolio, and all smaller portfolios, the groupings, will come under it. The decentralized concept is that classically there is no existence of a centralized portfolio, but you do have formal grouping of various portfolios. Like I said, in a centralized environment, you may have a core portfolio, a main portfolio under which you could have IT portfolio, communication portfolio, and so on. And the core portfolio is being managed by a portfolio manager formally. What if you don't have a centralized system? You don't have a core portfolio. There are separate portfolio managers to deal with IT projects and programs. Separate, there is a separate portfolio existing for communication, a separate portfolio for the construction, and so on. So all the relevant projects are falling into those groupings. This is a decentralized system where we do not have a formal core portfolio to look after the needs of all the portfolios. Every portfolio manager might be independently looking at the interests of the organizational strategy. Do you understand the concept centralized and decentralized in terms of management within the governance structure?
Yes.
Yes, Stephen?
Hmm?
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So, yes, there is a concept of centralized and decentralized. For example, a research and development portfolio could be decentralized while another portfolio may be managed centrally. Now, this is again interesting that you do have uh, a core portfolio under which we have got many projects and programs, but it is also a possibility that a single portfolio, a grouping of research and development projects and programs could be separated from the core portfolio and could be managed separately. This could also be a possibility, right? But this is not a very classic kind of a structure. It is just trying to explain that there could be existence could be centralized or decentralized. I would rather I would still like to go with the concept that there classically should be a core or central portfolio in the organization under which other portfolios may exist. That is a centralized concept. But what he's talking in the example here is that you do have a centralized mechanism of a portfolio in your organization with sub portfolios under it, but it is a sane decision by the management to decentralize one of the sub portfolios. That means to get it out of the control of the main portfolio and let it act separately. I hope you understand this point also.
Yes.
You see, you are open to discuss and debate. If you don't like any point or you don't understand anything, I would very much like you to talk it out.
Yeah. No, this part makes sense.
Okay. So, after structure, let's go to the flexibility in control. The controls required to manage a portfolio should be flexible to adapt to the complexities of multiple portfolio scenarios. Now, this is a very interesting sentence. Uh, we did talk about adaptability and flexibility, but here it is talking about that the controls required maybe may have their own flexibility, although it is still, uh, you know, debating on the same point of adaptability and flexibility, which we discussed in the first initially. But you see, you understand how complex a whole scenario is when we have got multiple portfolios existing within the main portfolio, right? So, how are you going to control various groupings of separate portfolios working under a centralized portfolio? That is a complex deal, and your not only your portfolio is adaptable, but the way you are controlling it is also going to be a lot flexible.
Yes.
Then is periodic review and management. Selection and authorization of portfolio components, which are the projects, the programs, and the operations which are existing within our portfolio, no matter it is a centralized portfolio or some sub portfolio or whatever. But for each portfolio, somebody must be making decisions which project programs or operations are going to be part of this portfolio, that is selection. And then when once those are selected, then a formal authorization or chartering of those components. I'm not talking about the chartering of the portfolio itself, we'll talk about that later, but chartering or initiation or authorization of those portfolio components. This is the very important responsibility of any portfolio, selection and authorization of its components. So this responsibility, because as we say, portfolio is not like projects and programs which start and end uh, at a specific point in time. It doesn't have a fixed lifeline, or it doesn't die down. It is cyclic in nature. So when we start or initiate a project or a program, that is one single point when we do it. But in case of portfolio, the process of selection and authorization is going to be periodic in nature. You can't just do this selection and authorization once in a lifetime. No, we can't just, when we form a portfolio, yes, we will do some selection and authorization, but that is going to be repeated uh, continuously, periodically, and in some cases, it could be, like example is, it could be done every year. But I'm not specifically putting it into your mouth. It is not annually always. It may be biannually. It may be, there might be other conditions, but it must be a repeated process. The selection and authorization must be periodic and repeated process, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you see, we should have planning or strategic reviews, quarterly or monthly updates, and these are the places where we do this thing, selection and authorization. Once established, portfolio management is an ongoing practice. then it is, for the very first time you will do it, but later it is going to be periodic because it is an ongoing practice. It is not going to end like a project or a program. Adjustments to the portfolio components may be required when changes to organization occur. I think that point was very well deliberated earlier in our earlier discussion. We do understand that as the strategies change in the organization, we have to readjust the portfolio components. We may have to terminate some of them. We may have to, initiate some others, and so on and so forth. So these adjustments are going to be a constant feature. Portfolio management, I'm sorry, the heading is wrong. It should be life cycle duration. Portfolio management starts with the initiation of each portfolio and may continue indefinitely or until the portfolio is closed. Now, here it is a very interesting question. We have been saying that portfolio is a continuous thing. It is more like operation, and still we are talking about until the portfolio is closed. How do you comment on that? Does the portfolio close somewhere?
I guess the first thing would be if the strategy of the company changes, you can close it at that point.
Strategy,
no longer alignment.
Okay. If it is no more aligned with the organizational strategy, so is that enough reason to close down a portfolio? You should realign it, you should put it right, but why should you ever be closing a portfolio? Is there a need for that?
Either that, or I guess it could hit some threshold. So I mean, you have a risk. Every portfolio has a risk, and if you hit that risk threshold, that would be a reason why the portfolio is no longer beneficial.
Okay. Let me address that. As far as projects are concerned, we are very clear that project have a life cycle. It is objectives, and when those objectives are achieved, those deliverables or the products are produced, project is to be closed. Similarly, for programs, although program has a longer life, maybe a couple of years long, but still it is having a closing somewhere when all the benefits which were expected out of that program are realized. Now, let us question, why are we forming the portfolio? Because we have a need in our organization to formally translate the organizational strategy into orchestration of portfolio components. Agreed? Formally,
Yes.
That was the reason why we gave birth to portfolio, why we chartered the portfolio. Although portfolio is supposed to be continuous in nature, but tell me, when there was no portfolio, was your organization not working?
Oh,
When there was no portfolio, no formal portfolio, organization was still functioning.
Yes.
And why? What was the reason that you needed to have a formal portfolio in your organization? That was to gain better control. Agreed?
Yes. Yes.
If you don't create a formal portfolio, still you are looking after the portfolio responsibilities in one way or the other. Maybe there are no formal portfolio roles happening, but you still are looking at taking care of the portfolio problems. But there is no
Yes.
formal existence of portfolio. So when you realize the benefits of portfolio, you decided to charter your portfolio. That is the beginning of the portfolio. The very simple
Yes.
reason for closing a portfolio could be that you no more need to control the projects and programs to that intensity, because now maybe your organization does not have so many projects and programs as to justify the existence of a lot of funding, a lot of expenses on formal portfolio setup. So that could be the point when you decide that we will informally be dealing with the portfolio, but formal existence of portfolio may be closed down. So this is the organizational decision. Otherwise, if you ask me, I would never prefer to close down a portfolio. But you see, this is an entity in an organization. It is consuming funds and everything. Maybe at one point in the life of the organization, you were running hundreds of projects and programs simultaneously, and there was definitely a need to have a formal portfolio. Suddenly, your organization is in a situation where you are having a couple of projects or programs running, which could otherwise have been managed in much better manner rather than having a formal portfolio with a lot of staff. There is the portfolio operations are also run. It's not only one person running the whole portfolio. That is a whole organization by itself. It is more like an operational entity. When you do not need it anymore, you formally can close it. Do you want to comment on this?
I understand. I'm just trying to think of the scenario. You just execute multiple projects. That's all. It's just project management at that point.
Exactly.
Or maybe
Exactly.
program management too, but it's just a project.
Right.
Yep.
So as I gave you an example earlier, it could be the CEO is looking after only four projects and one program running in your organization. CEO can be looking after the decision. All the decisions about those components can be taken by him, and there is no formal need for a portfolio manager or a portfolio structure. So a little staff, maybe a clerical staff, helping helping the CEO manage those things. So that is a point where you don't need a formal portfolio.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that solves the question of the life of a portfolio, because life of the portfolio is dependent on the management decision. Although there is no ending and no starting as such of the portfolio, but naturally you have to charter a portfolio, you have to initiate a portfolio, and then you have an option of closing it down, right?
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
is true for PMOs, project management offices. They are not mandatory in every organization, but when the things are getting out of the control and you want to manage a lot many things about projects and programs going on in your organization apart from the portfolio, like uh, progress reports and other things, the coordination and all. So you need to have some kind of support. So if you have got many projects running, so you probably will like to establish a PMO, right? So it is just like that. But PMO has got a more minute and detailed view. It is more assistance job, whereas portfolio is an executive job. It makes big decisions, strategic level decisions. So yes, of course, we can have a portfolio management office also, but all the kinds of PMOs, portfolio management, program management, or project management offices, they are different from a portfolio. Portfolio is kind of an executive and strategic thing. PMO is not a strategic thing. PMO is a reporting mechanism. Anyways, we that is about the life cycle duration and the critical inputs. Strategic planning, organizational performance metrics, and product and service design, these are all the critical elements as inputs into the portfolio lifecycle. So, when we are initiating a portfolio, you have to take these things into account. Actually, strategic planning, if there is a need for having this portfolio or not, how does it relate and link to the organizational strategy, and then you plan for it. And how are you going to measure the performance as per the organizational performance matrix? Because it has to be accountable. It has to be, kind of measurable. And what is the product and service design? So taking all of these factors into account, these are the critical inputs when you are establishing the portfolio for the first time. So underlying these inputs is a thorough understanding of the portfolio's value to the organization. When you are establishing a portfolio to the organization, you must have a reason. You must have a value proposition in mind. What will it be doing better or different from what we are, from how we are handling the affairs right now? There should be a huge value coming with the existence of portfolio to the organization. And these are the critical inputs which dictate whether there is a need for a portfolio or not.
When you are measuring a portfolio,
Yes.
how is that different? How is that different than the sum of the components? And I'll give you an example. If a portfolio is made of, or maybe a program, but whatever the subcomponents are, not operations, but either a program or a series of projects. Each one of those projects has a budget and a schedule, maybe some other metrics. And so when you measure the value, not the value, but the progress of a portfolio, is that not simply the sum of the components, or is it something else?
No. You see, once again, I'll take you back. How do you measure a project? Whether it is being able to accomplish project objectives, it is being able to deliver the deliverables. That is how you measure the progress of a project. As far as program is concerned, we measure if the benefits are being realized, right? What about the portfolio? For portfolio, we would be seeing that is it aligning itself with the strategic objectives of the organization, right? And translating those objectives into the benefit realizations and the relevant products for these components. So this is not a simple add up of that.
Is it more subjective than objective? I won't say subjective, that's the wrong word, but it's not as clearly defined. It's
the reason for having a portfolio is not a bottom up reason.
Yeah,
what you are saying is summing up.
That's the question. Yeah.
Yeah. We can't just sum up all the projects and programs and say this is portfolio. There is the reason lies at top. With the link is with the strategy of the organization. The reason is at the top.
Simply, it's a measurement. It's simply a measurement if the strategic goal is being achieved or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I want to use the word. It's not. it's not subjective. That's the wrong word to use, but it's more, it's, I can't say gray area, but because the portfolio never ends, it's simply a check or a verification that it's on the
Yeah,
right track. It's
on the
not a
right track.
schedule. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
not a schedule. It's not a definitive metric. It's a comparison. It's up to someone's. I keep going back to the word subjective, but it's not subjective. But it is up to someone's analysis individually to their knowledge and expertise says, yes, we are on that track. We are indeed doing what
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
objective is. Yes,
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah.
I understand, but as I was explaining, we must keep that in mind that all the progresses of the components are are not only collected, but they are analyzed as if we are aligned with the required organizational strategy or not. And if we feel that although the project and programs are running very fine, but our top level strategy has changed, that is a portfolio problem. Portfolio will adjust it. So what is more important for a portfolio is alignment with the existing organizational strategy rather than accomplishment of the projects and programs, right? So that's why I want you to look at it on a top-down picture because the control is at the top.
Right.
Right. So the last point in this value overview is the value understanding. Uh, value understanding means the value proposition for the portfolio have been properly defined and well understood, because that is the reason for the existence of the portfolio. If a value proposition exists, portfolio exists. So defining the value derived from the portfolio functions, products, and services from all perspectives, that is organization, customer, additional, and stakeholders, helps eliminate non-value added programs, projects, or activities. That is exactly your point that you were thinking
That's why
that
it has to
all
be
the
clearly
yes, please.
defined.
Yeah,
There cannot be any gray area in what the intent is. It's got to be clearly defined. Everything's
yes,
got to be defined. Very, very. Yeah.
yes. But you see, uh, what are we looking in the project programs and activities which are happening under the portfolio? We are critically looking at anything of not of value, which is not adding any value to the portfolio, that such like programs, projects, or activities must be immediately eliminated or terminated, because we are just not a post office who is just collecting the reports or mail of all the programs and projects and activities and forwarding it to the higher level. It is also filtering it, and it is also taking action on if some program, project, or activity is no more value adding, right? If it was just a post office role, then probably it was a PMO. PMO is normally not making any decisions, any strategic decisions, but passing on the information upwards in after consolidating it. Portfolio doesn't do any such thing. It is not a consolidator. It is the strategy uh, executor. It ensures that the strategies of the organization are actually happening. So once we talk about the value proposition and the addition coming from the components, we come to the concept of value stream. Uh, Value stream may not have been very well understood if we have not talked about the value proposition, the business value, and these concepts are really very important. Value stream is a constant stream of value generation within the organization which has been established through the components to the execution of the programs, projects, and activities under that portfolio. Thus, it is this continuously and ever improving value stream uh, is the lifeblood of the organizational strategy, and the enterprise level strategic objectives are being not only achieved, but it is also feeding into the future improvements to the strategy. Did I confuse you, or did it make any sense?
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, that was just the overview. Just the overview. Let us move on to some fundamental principles. Uh, you remember, these were the principles we have already talked about in the previous chapter. It is just a listing of the same thing. The principles of portfolio management, remember, we discussed them. These were that strive to achieve excellence in strategic executive, enhance transparency, responsibility, and so on and so forth. So I just copied this slide from the previous lecture, and I have just put it there as if you know that these were the guiding principles of portfolio. And now what we are trying to do is we are trying to apply all those which can apply to the portfolio life cycle. These were the guiding principles of portfolio, and we are trying to see which apply to the portfolio life cycle, because that was for the whole portfolio, not only the life cycle. So many of them will apply to the portfolio life cycle. The specific impact from principles within individual stages of the life cycle are mentioned here. So we are more concerned from these principles about two things. One is ongoing life cycle. The life cycle that is continuous in nature, which never ends, and it must go through these stages: initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. So as a life cycle, I am more concerned about my components, my stages, or my ongoing life cycle, which is initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. That is number one thing. And the second is monitoring and control of whatever is happening in the portfolio right now. So we will uh, discuss all these things in more detail in subsequent slides. So let us first have a look what is happening. I have already shown you this diagram, the life cycle of, probably I didn't show you. This is the first time we're looking at this. So the cycle, the life cycle is going on, in an ongoing manner: initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. And at the heart of it is monitor and control, right? So I think that justifies the need for explaining ongoing life cycle and the monitor and control. This is how this is happening. So there is a strategic planning in the background, and you are doing all this. You're running your portfolio. Portfolio is initiated, planned, executed, and optimized, and then new projects are initiated, new components are added, and this cycle goes on and on and on forever. And at the end of the day, uh, the things, the benefits we are being realized, they are handed over to the operations. Operations take over the project, or the output or the result of the projects and programs are uh, transitioned to operations. And in light of that, yeah, we can look at a bigger picture. In light of that, the operations may affect the strategic planning, which is outside of the sphere of the portfolio. Means the organization may decide to improve its strategic plan, change its vision, mission, goals, and objectives, and thus the organizational values could be impacted. Business cases could be created at the organizational level. New product and service life cycles could be designed. This is our organizational issue, and there might be some this while you do the strategic planning might uh, affect the customer value, the benefits we are giving to the customer, the product or services we are delivering to the customer. We enhance and improve that as a result of our improving strategy, right? So that also may add value to our organization and things like that. And there could be external factors. All of this is going to impact your portfolio life cycle stages, which I have already explained to, which are ongoing in nature, and ongoing are initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. And all of this is being continuously monitored and controlled through performance metrics. Does it make any sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Mitchell, I need a little break. I need to pray. So about 10 minutes, if you can give me, I'll
No
be back.
problem. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So here we are. I'm sorry for the delay. I think I took those 10 minutes. Actually, this is specifically a prayer time for us this time, and after about half an hour again, um, half an hour. So these are two very
Oh,
close
I'm
timings.
familiar with it. Yeah, I work in my work is in Indonesia, so I'm very familiar.
Okay, okay, right. Anyways, actually, I was teaching another student from Western Coast, West Coast yesterday, and I was amazed to find that she's 3 hours behind you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right.
3 hours behind you.
Yeah, yeah, it's very it's a big time difference between the East Coast and the West Coast.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so I hope I was able to make some head and tail out of this ongoing life cycle summary diagram. Are you okay with it?
Yes.
Right. So within the same business change life cycle, so does this business change life cycle happen? Let us look at the diagram again. Can you find where the business change is happening? Where the business change is happening?
Um, the product and
When,
service life cycle. Oh, strategic.
okay, of course, but that is dependent on business case, right? When the business case for a portfolio or project program, yes, of course, you are right that product and service life cycle is something operational. So product and service life cycle is operational, but uh, if there is a need for certain things in the organization, the business case for relevant projects and programs will be created. So business strategy will be coming from the product and service life cycle, and that would be affecting the business case and model development. So with a business change, business change is at the organizational level, whereas strategic change is at the portfolio level, right? So business change is what direction of business the organization is taking, and you will orient as a portfolio, you will orient all your components according to that business change. So that is going to be your strategic adjustment. Portfolio can be refreshed with the addition or deletion, modification of portfolio components. The portfolio components may be amended, may be changed, may be deleted, may be terminated, added, or something, but you will always keep yourself aligned with the organizational strategy. And this is the place when you find that something is out of sync, some component is out of sync, replanning can occur. When the portfolio mix is reviewed at end of each business change life cycle, the business change life cycle, whenever they need from there's a need from the business side that they have to review the strategy. So business change life cycle is the point where the replanning is done, not for the projects and programs, but basically for the business orientation. And if there is a change in the business orientation, that will affect the
Portfolio changes with it.
strategic direction, and ultimately, based on that, we will review the mix of our portfolio components, and we will decide which components are to be retained and which are not. All stages within a portfolio, that is initiation, planning, and all, they are adaptable, flexible, and fluid. Like unlike projects and programs, We don't have to follow some specific, um, you know, um, instructions or guidelines on that. We are completely fluid in nature, and as the strategy changes, our way of working changes, our behavior changes with our components. As management decisions are made within the portfolio life cycle, the portfolio can be changed and updated to adapt to the internal and external factors. There is an example here. If a new government regulation comes into effect after periodic planning, periodic planning you have just completed maybe a month ago, and now a new government regulation has come up, the portfolio management team may have to adjust management plans to align to the new regulatory requirement, because you have to comply with that. It is not that, okay, we will review it after 1 year. No, that is a regulation, and you have to immediately reorient yourself. The whole portfolio has to be reoriented immediately. Hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, now you can see a diagram. That is an example of a portfolio life cycle. Some of the major activities by stages, which are part of the ongoing life cycle, and those major stages are naturally initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. On the top, it shows you those major stages or the major uh, activities which could be done by the portfolio from the point of view of initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. And down below, there are some example activities which may occur. So let's look at it. I am not going to read through all, but I am just referring it to you. This is figure 2-2, and you can refer it to your standard, and for your detailed preparation, you can read through these things in detail. But just to make you comfortable, I will say in initiation, portfolio strategy and management plans are created. Agreed?
Yes.
Portfolio strategy at the portfolio level. I'm not talking about the strategy of the program or project level, or even the organizational strategy is not created by portfolio. Portfolio creates its strategic plan according to the organizational strategy, and all the subservient components are going to be aligned with that. Second thing is
Yes.
portfolio management process. And you remember everything we discussed about the vision, governance, and the stakeholders. Then governance and communication planning for the whole portfolio at the portfolio level. This all is happening during the initiation. Ideation process defined. Portfolio selection and prioritization criteria defined. Portfolio charter is defined. Value metrics are defined, and a roadmap is created. This is all happening in initiation. Right? This is the initiation. Yeah, these are more clear. These are the this is the initiation.
Yeah.
Then we have
So
got
this is where I have to I gotta maybe unwire my brain because in the I was trying to as I was reading through version 3, edition 3 and edition 4, I was
yeah,
trying to align the process groups, and so I was trying to fit things in this category because edition 3 has defining, aligning, and authorizing and controlling. And then this one in version 4 says initiation, planning, execution, and optimization. So this is where I was trying to fit 3 knowledge areas in edition 3 to 4 knowledge areas in process groups in edition 4, and I couldn't fit them together. So
exactly.
it was confusing me a little bit. So I should lean more towards this one, these 4.
Yeah. More rather, you should lean completely towards the latest edition.
Yes. All right. This
Because
is it was confusing.
there are so many concepts which are obsolete, which are no more
Yeah.
useful for the portfolio.
Yeah.
Right. The items on the top, they are the actions to be taken by the portfolio for the portfolio at the portfolio level, and actions on the bottom. Sorry. Yeah, these are the actions to be taken at the component level. Let us look at during the initiation. Initial component list is created. Component level, at the component level within the portfolio, these are all the duties of portfolio. But the top duties are as far as the portfolio level is concerned, and the decisions it takes for the component, they are also the duties of the portfolio, but they are written here. Like initial component lists are created, component list reviewed based on alignment to the strategy and prioritization criteria, component list validated, feedback incorporated into the revised planning. So you see, these are actions relevant to the components, and these are actions relevant to at the portfolio level. That is, I only read out initiation for you. Then similarly, you can uh, see in detail the planning, both sides at the portfolio level and the component level, execution and optimization. I'll give you some
So
time to just quickly scan through it, and if you want to discuss something, we can do that. So over to you.
the component level, these are these projects and programs, or are these components within the portfolio?
For programs and projects are the components of the portfolio, right?
Yeah, one and the same. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So just look through them, and if you want to discuss anything out of this chart, we can take on that point. You can also read it carefully later also, but if there is any quick point which is which is confusing you, like you just mentioned that previous edition and this edition has got a lot of changes, so you must rely only on the new edition. Previous edition is for reference purposes only.
Yeah, so I just want to maybe skim through and make sure I have the understanding of the stages. That's all.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm definitely going to have to study this one, but I think this is this is a very key page to understand. Because I assume that to navigate the exam, clearly you're going to have a great understanding of which area you're in, is what I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you go through it in detail, and whenever you're done, you can you can ask questions again sometime, maybe next class or something. But these a couple of slides are basically the breakdown of the same. These are the portfolio level things. These are the component level things, and then we move on to supportive processes. This is just an explanation of what we have seen already.
I'm sorry. Can you go back to that second slide?
Which one? Is that the one?
Top. That's the top one of the previous. Is that right?
This is the top one.
Okay. All right. I got it. Thank you.
And this is the bottom one.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, supportive processes are organization specific and utilized to keep the portfolio aligned with governance controls and measures. So what are the supportive processes in the life cycle? These are organization specific, and the purpose of these supportive processes is to keep the portfolio aligned with the governance. Organizational governance is to be translated into the portfolio governance. Portfolio, for running the portfolio, we must have a governance framework at the portfolio level. For running the organization, we need to have a governance framework for the strategy to be implemented in the organization. So you see, every higher level needs to control the lower level and provide them the governance structure. An organization, as I explained this concept, an organization has got an organizational governance, which is a set of rules and regulations uh, and some KPIs, how the organization would be on line, I mean, on the right track. Within the organization, any department is supposed to be following that organizational governance, but within their own department, they may have other rules established which are specific to that department, but they are subservient to the higher level governance, right? So,
Yes.
naturally, that is the point which we want to highlight here from the governance point of view. Governance must have certain controls and measure. I hope you understand the difference between governance and management. Probably we talked about it as well. Uh,
Yes.
the people who are running the show are managers. Within the
Yes.
organization, those who follow the rules and do the things as they are told to do, and they, like departmental heads and managers and all that, these are the people who are managerial in nature, who are the management of the organization. But those who make the rules and ensure those rules are followed, so they control and measure, that is the governance level. The governance should provide the control and measurement mechanism. These
Yes.
supportive processes include, naturally, they have to communicate, there should be financials, risks, dependency management, all of this must be included in that. They are defined and aligned to the portfolio during the initiation phase. All the components within the portfolio must be properly defined, selected. Naturally, selection and authorization was something we talked about, but each one of the component must be defined and they must remain aligned with the portfolio. Dependency management. There might be certain dependencies amongst the components, although these components may or may not be related, but uh, actually dependency determination shows that there is a relation amongst various components. Yes, there can be some relationship among certain components. Some components may be related, others may not be related, right? So that is not a condition. In portfolio, we can have related and unrelated component, but wherever there are related component, there might be certain dependencies. On the other hand, I would also explain that, like, all the components of the portfolio are sharing the same resources. Although they may not be related by in any other sense, these components, but still they might be sharing the same resources, and there might be a resource constraint due to that. So this is also a dependency which will have to be managed by the portfolio. This could be caused by various factors like resources, time constraints, financial cost availability, project outcomes, risk profiles, all of the several things they create this dependency. I mean, dependency which is not directly due to the relation. Okay.
Yes.
Initiation, first phase. Initiation is naturally an important stage. It is kicked off or informed by the formal release of business and and our organizational objectives and goals are to provide the management structure for previously disparate components. So this establishes a link between the organization and the component. You see, if this link cannot be joined, if this chain, this link does not exist, if a component is good enough, it looks like good, it looks like very fashionable, but it cannot hook to any one of the strategies of the organization. It doesn't provide any benefit to the organization. Such an initiative, such a component is not liable to be initiated, right? No matter how beautiful that is. So initiation is linking these two things, organizational objectives and goals, and the components, individual components. It sets the approach and principles for major processes that define how the portfolio and its components will be managed throughout the life cycle, right? Throughout the life cycle of the portfolio is answerable to the higher level management, to the top level management, and it the sole purpose of portfolio is to manage the life cycle of the portfolio continuously. Continuously. Primary goals: validating business and operational strategy. So that is a repeated effort. Continuously, they will keep having an eye on the business strategy, also at the operational side, and keep validating that whatever we are doing, are we on the right track, are we or not. Then identifying the portfolio components included in the scope. Within the scope of the portfolio, are all the components properly identified? Then you must have a roadmap of all the component, how and when, what is to happen, with specific financial goals, what are the performance metrics for them, communication, how the things are to be communicated among, from, to and from the components, governance, stakeholders, because there would be different stakeholders for different initiatives, for different components. And there will be the portfolio level stakeholders, there would be the organizational level. So there is a lot of communication and coordination going on. And the ongoing management plan. You see, we are not much worried about what a portfolio, what a program or a project is doing. Yes, of course, we are concerned that they should be, whatever they are doing, they must be able to produce, fulfill the strategic objective. But at the same time, the ongoing management plans of the components, we can, that is a lower level responsibility of the portfolio to have an eye on them. I would say lower level. More concern for a portfolio is the roadmap and how the things fit together, rather than micromanaging the programs and projects and advising the project managers unsolicited. As a portfolio manager, this is not your responsibility to interfere into the business of your components. Never ever. But always be ready to provide them any support, advice, or mentoring facility whenever they ask for. You see, remember, a program manager is a senior position. A project manager is a responsible position. They know their job. Let them do their job. Do not try to step down from the portfolio manager's seat and start doing the job of the program manager or the project manager. I explained this thing earlier also, and I am doing it now again. I'm emphasizing it because in the portfolio management exam, it might ask you questions when you are taking over the analysis or responsibilities of a program or project manager. Should you do it? Not at all. Not in any circumstance. You have authority to kill a project, to terminate a project, but you don't have to run a project by yourself or a program by yourself. You don't do that. You are not a program or a project manager, you are a portfolio manager, right? That is what I want to emphasize. And also, as I just explained, um, uh, should you be providing them advice? Yes, of course, when it is wanted, when it is required. Anyway, what else you do in initiation? During initiation, we do governance framework, establishment of governance framework, which is the governance framework at the portfolio level. Although we know and we understand that even before the portfolio was ever established in the organization, there was a governance framework at the organizational level. Now, remaining under that governance framework, we are trying to establish a portfolio governance framework. This is what we are going to be creating during initiation of the portfolio, and that will be completely subservient to the organizational governance, right? We can't create a portfolio governance framework which is not in line with the organizational governance. Yes, your portfolio governance framework might be a little bit more detailed in explanations of certain things, right? But it will not take encroach uh, into the region of organizational governance. It will abide by the organizational governance framework, and they will create their and portfolio will have more detailed governance structure created for its components. That is called the portfolio governance. So this is what you are to create in initiation. Then you have to create a how your components are going to be, how are you going to communicate with your component, what is the to and fro movement, how are you going to do the prioritization or establishing the prioritization criteria, keeping in mind the strategy of the organization. Portfolio performance, how it is to be measured, what are the metrics, what are the KPIs you have established for the measurement? Because at every governance framework, at any level of governance, you always need to have some kind of performance metrics, metrics, key performance indicators. How are you going? Whatever the governance you are providing, how are you going to ensure that that governance is being implemented? Right? It should be measurable. So at the portfolio level, we are devising the portfolio performance metrics, and naturally we understand that just like projects and programs, there are risks to the portfolio which can, get you out of alignment from the organization strategy, or there could be other risks. So portfolio risk management is also considered to be established during the initiation. Portfolio governance plan, as I just explained to you, and charter are created. So this is at the stage of the initiation. First, the governance framework is established and the portfolio governance plan is developed, and then based on that, the charter is given. Always remember, the governance plan is created at a higher level, means the portfolio has yet not been chartered, but governance plan is created first, because the charter will have to be given according to the portfolio governance framework. And portfolio governance framework has to be created, established before it can be given, the charter can be given. So I would say the person who is the sponsor of the portfolio, who is the boss of the portfolio manager, he or she is the person who is establishing the portfolio governance plan and the charter for the portfolio. They are created by their hand, and once the portfolio is initiated, it becomes the responsibility of the portfolio manager to manage. And the same mechanism is true for the program management, for the project management. Uh, Before a program can be established, a program governance must be established, which should be aligned with the portfolio governance, which should be aligned with the organizational governance. So, even at program level, there is program governance plan, but that is not created by the program manager, but usually by the people who establish the program. I mean, before initiation of the program, for program governance plan should exist. And program manager, when he creates his program management plan, this this governance plan could be very helpful to him. So when he is given a charter, the program manager then develops the program management plan. Similarly, at the portfolio level, portfolio governance was established for you, charter was given to you, you are the portfolio manager. Now you will develop the portfolio management plan, which will include communication, which will show the governance framework, which will give you the prioritization criteria, portfolio performance metrics, risk management, and so on and so forth. This all will ultimately become the part of your portfolio management plan. So classically, the mechanism of chartering, of governance, of management plans is same, almost the same. It's very similar in portfolios, in programs, as well as in the project. We have governance of projects also, which is established by the sponsor. Yes, please.
I gotta get that straight. Your last example clarified it a little bit. I would have thought that the charter would come from the sponsor, but the governance would come from the portfolio manager. I think maybe I was getting that confused with the portfolio management plan, like you said, because
you see,
I was thinking that information had to feed into the charter, but the charter is just approval of the.
Charter is just an authority.
I thought that input had to be. I thought that'd be an input. I thought the governance would. It's my thought was that all that is an input to the charter. So the governance would have to be from the portfolio manager, so he could present it to the.
Charter is just an authorization letter, nothing more than that.
Okay.
It just it says that
the portfolio manager to start work.
Somebody like the portfolio sponsor, somebody who is the head of who is the boss of the portfolio manager. Let's call that guy as a portfolio sponsor. Portfolio sponsor establishes that yes, in our organization, we need to have a formal portfolio, and these are the reasons for that. And this has been approved, and therefore I am establishing this portfolio under the able, leadership of this person who is going to be the portfolio manager. So it is the responsibility of this portfolio sponsor to give the governance structure for the portfolio to him, as if the portfolio manager can follow that and establish the portfolio management plan. You see, the management plan, portfolio manager is a manager, is not executive.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
He establishes a management plan. But what does he follow? He follows his big boss's governance structure, the governance framework, which is created by his boss, right? Same is true at the program level. Same is true at the project level. I hope you understand all that. Okay, moving on to planning. So primary goal of planning stage at the portfolio level are to develop a portfolio management plan. Here we are. Once you have the portfolio governance framework in place, or in other words, portfolio governance plan in place, as a portfolio manager during the planning, your prime responsibility is to develop a portfolio management plan and reach an agreement on all of these things are part of the portfolio management plan. Agreement on management of portfolio components in scope. All the portfolio components which are expected to be part of your portfolio, how are you going to manage them? Budgeting required to successfully execute those components. Identification of interdependencies between portfolios and their components. Identification of risks and issues and development of their respective response plans. Resource requirements, whatever kind of prioritization of portfolio component, and so on and so forth. You see, all of these responsibilities, they become pretty easy to understand once you know that we already have a governance structure established for the portfolio. We already have that. That has been given to us. And whatever we are doing here, we are basically expanding on that governance structure, right? So
Yeah.
remember, a manager, no matter whether there is a portfolio manager, is not the author of governance, right? The governance framework is not authored by the manager. It is authored by the big boss, by the boss of the manager. That is the governor, right? The governance is in the hands of the sponsor, or maybe it is a governing body. If it is not a sponsor, it could be a governing body, portfolio governing body, and they might be giving you the framework. Anyways, plan portfolio management plan is completely in accordance with, although it explains the things further, like you are a manager of a department, you are running the show, but according to the SOPs providing to you, the policies and procedures given to you. You can't, if at all you do not follow those policies and procedures, you could be liable to punishment, right? That could be illegal not to follow those policies and procedures. From where these policies and procedures are coming? These are coming at the root of all the policies and procedures. There is governance. During periodic portfolio strategic planning, the portfolio business model is revisited, that is periodically, to ensure that it is in alignment with the customer values, benefits, business and organization strategic goals. So that is your continuous maintenance responsibility as a portfolio manager, to keep revisiting and re-evaluating on a periodical basis the value and benefit, or for that matter, the validity of the ongoing components. Are they really required? Are they still required? Are they good enough? Or should I terminate them? And when you readjust, tweak them, you are doing optimization. Although you did an initial optimization of the portfolio, uh, but this is going to be further optimized after every periodic strategic planning. And this is going to happen throughout the life of the portfolio. Portfolio metrics are reviewed, that is, whatever the reports and returns are coming, whatever the uh, performance metrics you had established, they are reviewed at the portfolio level to ensure that they are tied to realistic goals and objectives at the customer strategic and financial levels. Existing components agreed upon during the initiation stage and reviewed in more detail, including their scope, time, budget, etc., and their interdependencies. This much you can review, but again, I'm advising you not to micromanage your components, right? Only from the purpose of uh, re-evaluating the need for I mean, from the metrics you get this data and try to see that everything is. Basic purpose of the portfolio manager is to ensure all the components remain in line with the portfolio strategic interest and the organization. So please, at no point should you start thinking that you have now, because you are a portfolio manager, you have the authority to do anything with any program and any project. You can interfere in their working. No, you are allowed to kill them. You are allowed to terminate them. You are allowed to give birth to a new component, but do not interfere in the internal working of the components. The prioritization criteria are reviewed on and off periodically based on new component introduced. Whenever the strategy has changed and maybe the new candidate components which could be included in the portfolio, you will evaluate them and see that this is my prioritization list. Already these things are going on, and this thing which is a candidate to be included into the portfolio, where does it fit? How important is it according to the prioritization criteria? Maybe this new component comes on top, right? It takes on the priority of which was otherwise held by someone else, some other component, but this component might be as important. It might come in middle somewhere, or it might be added to the bottom of the list, or even you may have pended this component that this is not important enough to be added right now, but let it be in the waiting list, right? So this
Yeah.
prioritization criteria has to review each new candidate component. Then the changes are proposed and reviewed based on these criteria. So when you make your analysis, that what is the according to the prioritization criteria, this new component is placed at a specific number or at a specific rank, then you have to propose it to the governance committee, or maybe if there is a portfolio sponsor. The boss of the portfolio manager is usually supposedly a single person, but it may be a complete board, portfolio governance board or body, whatever you want to call it. Capital needs are compared against available funding and demand. Can we afford it? Maybe the new candidate component is good enough and we must do it, but at the same time, we don't have that kind of funding to undertake this new component. So we have to look at the funding and demand. We have to look at the resource capacity planned and set based, and they're set based on the need of the portfolio. During replanning, the portfolio is reviewed again. Whenever and wherever we replan anything, a component is to be added, a component is to be terminated, or whatever we have to bring changes within the portfolio. Whenever this thing is happening, we have to review everything yet again. Components, including subsidiary portfolios, if there are any, are revised based on the needs of the organization. Finally, portfolio management plans are reviewed and updated based on the relevant status of components. Okay. Where is it? I'm sorry, I just lost it. Yeah, here it is. Administration. Yeah, this we have done. Okay, moving on to execution. Now, what is execution? Even from your knowledge of program and project management, you understand when we initiate something and we plan it and now we are trying to execute, it is very similar to what is there in the program and the project management. But you see, now you are much wiser to understand that initiation, planning, and execution may look like similar, but the level is very different. Anyways, whatever we have planned in the portfolio management plan, now is the time to put it into action. Planning has been done, approved, and now you are executing it. So the primary goal of execution stage are to lead delivery of all components within each portfolio. Right? You will activate the roadmap. you will let the components start their work, and you will start, advising them or uh, instructing them on how to coordinate. Naturally, you have created all the plans. You need not interfere, but at the same time, you are the boss, and you can tell them uh, how you are coordinate. But as I have been harping on it, please do not interfere in the internal working of a component. Actively manage and resolve risks and issues, that is okay. Facilitate portfolio and component communication, that is according to the communication management plan you included in your portfolio management plan. Then we have got reprioritization and change subsidiary portfolios if there are sub portfolios. Then naturally, just like the portfolio manager is looking after the whole portfolio, every sub portfolio will have a sub portfolio manager, and all the responsibilities of a sub portfolio manager are going to be very similar to that of portfolio manager. The only difference is that person, the sub portfolio manager, is looking after a smaller domain, right? But all the responsibilities are exactly similar. The sub-portfolios will inherit the portfolio governance, and they would create their own governance structure. Whomsoever is ordering for a sub-portfolio to be created, that person is providing them their relevant sub-portfolio governance structure or framework. And sub-portfolio managers are being authorized, they are being chartered, and then they create their own sub-portfolio management plan. Same is true from other components. Like when the charter for a program is given, program manager is provided with a program governance mechanism by the program sponsor. Program manager, after initiation, according to the governance structure or governance plan, develops the detailed program management plan. Same is the story with a component which is a project. I hope I have made things a little understandable for you. Is it so?
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to spend more time making sure I know which category I'm in. That's going to be a big aspect for me to get down and understand, to clearly know I'm here versus here, because the initiation is kind of clear. There's very specific task in there, and then it starts to get more
Complicated?
I don't say not confusing, but more complex is the word.
Yep.
To delineate between the planning and the execution options. I just have to spend more time on to make sure I know clearly which segment I'm in, because I know that's a tripping point in the exam, not understanding which area you're in. That's a surefire way to get something wrong, is not understanding which area you're in.
Right. Okay, and if you don't mind, we can have a little break. I can go for my prayers, and you can have tea or something. Is it so?
Yep, that's fine.
15 minutes breaks, huh?
Cool.
15 minutes, I'll be back, right? Thank you. Thank you. Take care.